Welcome back to the Mail-In Podcast. I'm Randy doing Brett. Randy, before this episode, Sally was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do the intro. Here's what I sound like, and I'm Brett."
Are we keeping this for
yeah.
the episodes?
Yeah.
I think people just press skip. Now we're just recording this episode for no reason.
We are the Mail-In Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Merriman. To my right, the lovely Sally deFries. Good afternoon, Sally. Happy New Year. Let me be the first to wish you a Happy New Year. How are you?
Are we still doing Happy New Year after January 3rd?
I think this week, and then that's done. That's kind of how I'm treating it with emails and business discourse.
Okay.
And then it's starting next Monday, where it's over.
You've seen that Curb episode, right? Where Larry David starts getting pissed at people for saying Happy New Year.
I've seen the clip. I'm not a big Curb guy, but
I think you're right. I think you get this week only, and then it's done. The first week of the new year, and then you don't get to say Happy New Year to people anymore.
Exactly. You did something not many people are doing over their New Year. You moved.
I moved.
Yeah.
Houses.
How
Yes.
did that go?
Let's
Let's if the audience doesn't know, a young child and a newborn.
last couple days of my maternity leave.
Last couple days of your mat leave.
Spent the entire week of like what should just be a drinking and eating like cozy filled
Totally.
week, and we packed.
Yep.
We decided on the 26th we were going to move. We packed up our place and moved on the 30th.
I was gonna say it's not like this was. I mean, I know
it was
you
not
y'all
planned. We had
right.
thought about it, but then we were like, "Screw it, we're just going to do it." And
You pulled trig, and it was like, all right, we are pedal to the metal.
yeah,
So Will is celebrating by skiing in Colorado.
and I have both children in a house that's somewhat unpacked. It's not ready. Sorry, I'm fixing my hair. Here's an unsolicited rec for some people while
Okay.
you're moving. Okay, we got movers, which was like absolutely necessary because they're like we're just too old now. Will like straight up has an inguinal hernia. Like if he starts lifting shit, like he's gonna go get surgery. So movers was an absolute necessary thing, but for at least for us at this juncture in life. But if you have to move people, and I know this exists in Austin, I'm pretty sure it exists other cities, but something like this, it's called Bronco boxes. Okay. So they're like these black plastic crate boxes. They're like ones that like
They
claw
have the little
together.
claws. Yes.
Yes.
We moved at Barstool with these.
Okay. So nice. Cause you rent them for like a certain period of time. We rented ours for a week. They come drop them off, you pack in them, you move in them, and then they come pick them up at your new place. So one, you don't have to buy a bunch of cardboard and then put boxes together, which is like the bane of my existence, and then take boxes down when you're done. But two, because you have rented them for a certain amount of time, like we rented for a week, so it's obviously cheaper the less time you do. You can extend it, but then they charge you more, which Will was just calling the laziness tax. So you are forced to unpack because they picked up all of ours today. Yeah. So we had pretty much unpacked all of them except for like my last two ones of like my bathroom stuff. And so I was forced to do it today because they had to come get them.
Which is a good incentive.
Yeah. But also kind of environmentally friendly because you don't have to like buy a bunch of cardboard and tape and like whatever. It was so easy. So look it up. It's Bronco Box. This is a non-spawn.
Sponsor the pod.
Sponsor our pod. Like, changed my life. I'm never moving with traditional cardboard boxes again.
Okay, and so let me ask you this: with Bronco boxes, they're sturdy enough to like they're stackable, right? And they're very sturdy. And do you order them outside the movers? The movers show up and they're like, "Hey, you got Bronco boxes, sick."
Our movers knew what they were.
Okay.
But I think most people do. And you can order a couple different sizes, and we got like wardrobe boxes and stuff.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you Bronco?
It's spelled with a K. Bronco.
Oh, it's Bronco.
Yeah.
Bronco boxes.
Bronco.
It's like a Philly thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I like what we're. So how do you know how many to get?
They have like on the website. They were like, "How many bedrooms do you have?" I probably didn't get enough. I said we only had 2 bedrooms, which was not true because we had 3. But I was like, we can probably make it work with 2.
Okay.
We had to finagle some stuff.
Right.
We had to pack in some traditional boxes, which was unfortunate.
I got you.
Great. They're gone now. They picked them up this morning.
Mm-hmm.
That's out of my Fritz loved playing in them because he would get
wow.
in and like claw himself in and pop out.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a classic kid move.
Yeah.
How's the unpacking? Like, what's the new sitch?
The problem with moving, besides like all the other shit that you have to do of like packing, unpacking, etc., is that when you move into a new place, all of your old furniture doesn't work in the new place because all of your furniture existed in the confines of your old place. So you have stuff, but you're like, well, shit, we also moved somewhere that was a little bit bigger space. So we need more furniture in general, but like our couch that's like an L shape is kind of an L shape in the wrong direction of our living room. So, which is like, it'll be fine. But like we need new rugs. We need moving ends up being like an insane cost because you have to pay movers. Or in our case, we did. You have to pay for the boxes. You have to do all the you have to pay. At this point, we're paying 2 rents for a month, and then we're gonna spend a ton of money on furniture.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah, gotta fit the place to your style and the new dimensions. Yeah,
and unfortunately, we can't just do what we did in college and like tack a flag on the wall and call it some decoration. We just have to.
Yeah, that's the thing
be
about
adults about
getting older. You gotta be adults. Is your couch floating?
Yes,
that's
floating.
That's big.
That's huge, huge move. And we I think I'm gonna hire somebody to come mount our TVs. That's not Dylan.
That's not Dylan.
Yeah. Don't tell Dylan. Don't tell Dylan.
Okay. I won't say a word.
Because not Will's like, we have to use Dylan. And I'm like, lest we forget, Dylan dropped his own TV and broke it. Okay. Okay.
It did happen. I heard
saying,
you also have like a unique TV, right? That's got like a little frame kind of thing to it. So
we have the Samsung frame. We have 2 other TVs, and like all 3 of them need to be mounted.
Okay.
And like sometimes I just feel strongly about like instead of using your friends and family for free labor, you should just like suck it up and pay someone whose job it is to do that, because they're the most invested because you're paying them.
It's true. That's true.
Don't tell Dylan though.
I won't say a word.
And the listeners of this podcast, please don't DM him and tell him that I'm not going to use him for TV mounting. He'll find out in next week when our TVs are mounted.
If you would like to ask us a question, though, maybe something about mounting TVs, you can hit the hotline, 888-362-MIL or 888-362-6245, or write in at the link in the Twitter bio at Mail In Podcast or in the description of this episode. Sally, are you ready to go?
I am ready.
Hey, gang. First time day oneer. Nice. I'm in a predicament. I saw a text on my girlfriend's phone. Here's what happened. She wrote to her sister-in-law. I'm in the wrong here. No denying that, by the way, which then prompted me to go read the whole conversation, unbeknownst to her. She said some pretty mean shit, mostly about my family, that while I realize I'm obviously biased, is objectively and undoubtedly entirely untrue and unfair to say, and I'm pretty upset about it. How do I address this? How do I address this? Love the pod. Keep up the good work.
Do you say something?
I was going to ask you because I feel like in a big family such as yours with many different moving pieces, there's the higher potential of perhaps something being said about somebody else, maybe in a different conversation that maybe slips into the other conversation.
Yeah.
So I was going to defer to you, but if it's, I mean, it depends on the shit. At first, when I was reading this question, I was like, oh, it's going to be something about the boyfriend. Yeah. And then obviously you do say something, even though you're like, you're in the wrong for reading the conversation. You're like, hey, you said like, I'm not the one, or, something like relationship altering. Yeah. In this case, I think my default answer is I need more context. But I don't know.
To me, it sounds like that they are probably in a serious relationship, given the fact that he has like met her family, or sorry, she has met his family. Mm-hmm. And it's serious enough to like bug him. Yeah. So I think you have to say something, but you also have to admit, we have answered a question similar to this before. When you have gone through someone's phone, that's a big breach of trust. And if you're going to address what was said, you have to admit yourself that you did the bad thing of going through someone's phone and that you've broken their trust and that you realize that you're in the wrong.
Yes.
Number one. So you're absolutely welcome to say something, but just with the caveat of like, that has to come first of like, hey, we need to sit down and talk about something before we do. The reason we're having talks about something is because I saw something
And then
and
followed that rabbit hole.
and followed that rabbit hole. And before we even go there, I upset you. Like, I understand if you're upset that I went through your phone and I shouldn't have. I understand that that's wrong, etc. And then also know that any conversation you have after that can probably be derailed by the fact that you broke someone's trust and went through their phone.
Yeah, there's a pretty quick, like, comeback. Be like, "Well,
Right.
you broke my trust," and, like, whatever it might be, but so agreed.
I think that the only reason that this is something to talk about is if you're in a serious enough relationship where, like, you are considering marriage to this person, that inevitably family is going to be something you deal with. And maybe not even marriage, but like a long-term relationship with somebody, that you need to address something like this because the issues are gonna keep coming up, and you don't wanna wait until issues come up and then you blow up with resentment because you saw all of these things, and then your partner's like, "That's really oddly specific that you think that I feel that way about your mom."
Right.
Where did you hear that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it's worth talking about, number one, to nip it in the bud, but also you have to disclose your breach of trust.
Right. I agreed there. I think my caveat would be, is it, he says it's untrue, unfair. I'm pretty upset about it. It depends on the level of, like, relationship altering thing this is, I think, for me. If it's like, you don't like that my mother-in-law, like, talks too much, or just something that's, like, trivial, I'd probably just simmer it, let it go away and file it away for something later. But if it is something big enough that it's like, "Oh, you think my parents think this about you or this person," or whatever it might be, then yeah, you gotta say something.
Um, yeah, families are really tough. So all of the phone stuff aside, if you're getting married to somebody or you're in a long-term relationship with somebody where they are meeting your family, you are really opening up yourself and that person to a lot of possible drama and, you know, I don't even know how to explain this the correct way, but basically what I'm trying to say is, like, Will and I have been married for almost 4 years. We've been
Oh
together
my
for 8.
god.
Yeah.
Have you really?
Yeah. In February.
Holy
Um,
shit.
He is around my family a lot. We both love each other's families,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, I'm gonna go to bat for my family, and he's gonna go to the bat for his. It's taken a lot of time and growing up to realize that sometimes my family, who I have spent the last 34 years with, is not always right. So I think that's a maturity thing. I think if you're thinking about marrying somebody or you are married to somebody, this is a conversation that needs to be had prior to marriage and then continually throughout your marriage and relationships, of checking in with your partner, because there's a certain level of, like, you have to create boundaries between your relationship and your in-laws. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
And you have to understand that, like, while it's okay for your partner to be frustrated with your family and you want to defend them, you also need to realize where your partner is coming from. We encounter this a lot with my own family. We spend a lot of time with my family because they're all here. This tends to come up a lot during the holidays because still, even though we've been together for 8 years, we like, at the end of the day, Will is spending a Christmas with my family instead of his family. I think it's lessening now that we have our own family of, like, we have our own kids, but it all gets blown out during holidays because that's when you're around them the most. That's when people are the most annoying and emotions are heightened and things like that. So we'll get in fights, and I feel like I have to defend, maybe it's like my mom or my sister or whoever it is that Will is frustrated with. And then in turn, Will's like, "Well, now I feel like you're not on my side." So that's That's what's the difficult thing about in-laws in general. Because at the end of the day, they're not your partner's immediate family. They're like marrying into it or they're dating into it or whatever it may be. So you need to kind of try to be open to both sides. And the problem with this guy saying, like totally biased, untrue, blah, 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 whatever he said, she didn't say it for no reason. You know, I mean,
Right.
maybe she's like totally off base, but like usually there's some nugget of truth. So I think it's important to like before you go to her and say like, "Hey, I saw that you said that like you think that my sister is spoiled and that you think my mom is a bitch or whatever it may be that she said to her sister-in-law."
Right.
You need to try to understand where she might be coming from and
Yeah,
like
totally.
what and not tee off and defend your family and try to see her point of view.
Mhm.
And that is an important thing in any relationship, but when you when you're dealing with someone's family, it's really hard to for the other person to not take it personally because it's their family. But you also need to realize like they must feel uncomfortable. In-laws are always going to be uncomfortable
Mhm.
at some level. When people are like, "I love my mother-in-law," and like we're like soulmates, blah blah. You're lying, okay? Like every person is not like, yes, I love my mother-in-law. At the end of the day, though, she's not my mom.
Mhm.
Okay. We like grew up separately. We have different opinions about things. Like, it's okay for me to love her and also have things that I'm like, that's not my favorite. That's gonna,
Sure.
and she probably feels the same way about me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like it's really fun to have a really good relationship with them, and you're always gonna have something that you just don't see eye to eye on. And it's just you're not it's not chosen, right? You choose the person you're with,
Right.
and they come with their family. A lot of the times they're great, and sometimes it's like, oh, we wouldn't be friends in real life, kind of thing.
Right.
So
I think in-laws are tough. I hope that this goes okay. I have friends who have horrible, horrible relationships with their in-laws.
oh,
Horrible. And it puts a really big
sad.
strain on their
Yeah.
own relationship because like I'm thinking one of my girlfriends, like her mother-in-law is a bonkers, bananas. But it like puts a lot of turmoil on her husband because he's like, I feel like I have to be the go-between and like I love my mom, but I do know she's crazy.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
In-laws are always going to be tough and it's really touchy. So you need to come from it from an aspect of like, hey, you said this and I want to know like what made you feel that way enough to say it because that's if that's something that I need to address with my own family or protect you from or set a boundary from, then like we need to do that.
Yeah.
Coming at it of like, I checked your phone and now I'm gonna attack you for saying this thing about my mom is like not the way to do it.
Totally agree. Want to talk about Green Chef?
Yeah.
Love our friends over at Green Chef. Randy, you're a big Green Chef guy. Chef Green over there. Green Chef is my favorite meal kit. Just put it that way. Just straight up my favorite meal kit. It's a lot of fun. They give you the tools. I always say this to be your own boss in the kitchen because it comes in the ingredients, not just something that's pre-made or fired up in the microwave or whatever, which are fine and well and great. They save time, but Green Chef is about making you a better, healthier person, a better person in the kitchen.
Also, shouts to Green Chef customer service because we got a box like right
Mm,
before Christmas.
okay.
Will threw out all of the recipe cards.
Wow, how did he do that?
Yeah, real annoying. So you can get on their you can get on their app and like just get the recipes. But like for one of the recipes we had, it was like wasn't on the app yet. So I like
Mhm.
called and she like immediately emailed it to me. It was awesome.
No kidding.
So we were still able to make the pork chops that I
Oh, there you go.
yeah.
How about some Parmesan linguine with shrimp and bacon?
I'm like actually really hungry right now, so this read's gonna be a little difficult because
Sesame chicken with some broccoli stir fry?
we made that. It
Oh,
was so good.
that sounds fantastic. And maybe if pasta isn't your thing or stir fry, how about some prosciutto, ricotta, and kale toasts? Let's get
Delightful.
brunch up in here. Green Chef is the best. It means you're choosing real, wholesome foods that don't just fill you up, but also support a healthy lifestyle. It's more than just satisfying hunger. It's about feeling good with every bite. Embark on a delicious culinary adventure this year with Green Chef's diverse menu. Each week, choose from 80 plus flavor packed options. Easily customize your meats to suit your lifestyle with preferences like keto, vegan, vegetarian, fast and fit, Mediterranean, gluten free, and protein packed. They offer unique farm fresh ingredients, organic whole foods and veggies, and premium proteins. Here's the deal Sally? Go to greenchef.com/60mail and use code 60mail to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. Again, go to greenchef.com/60mail and use code 60mail to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. Next one, Sal.
My boss's husband is going to give me his old, perfectly working grill next month, February 2024, after he buys a newer, bigger model. I've never met him in my life, but my boss said they're getting rid of a grill and offered it to me. I know their household income is about 3 times ours. What should I bring him or them when I pick up the grill as a sort of kind gesture? Beers, a good scotch, homemade baked goods. I regularly bake loaves of bread.
Is the gesture not coming to pick it up? You know what I mean?
I honestly think that's really nice that he's even doing anything.
Yeah.
For most people, like at my work all the time, people are emailing being like, hey, getting rid of this, like free if you come get it.
As long as
or
it's
like
been
$50
discussed.
or best offer. If they've already like offered it to you for free, that's really nice to give a gesture, but like they're probably just like, get it out of my house.
That's the thing. The gesture is like coming to pick it up. It's not an easily transportable item. It's, that I think that's, if you want to bake them a loaf of bread, that's awesome.
Great. But like, you don't need to like trade goods. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think as long as it's been discussed, like you're not going to show up and be like, oh yeah, where's the $200 that, like for my grill? I don't think that's going to happen.
No, most people who are as somebody who just moved, getting rid of stuff who like don't want to sell it are really, it's like the convenience of having someone else come get it from you.
Right.
Like having to donate things is, and then like take it somewhere is like so annoying. It's nice to like be like, hey, I'm getting rid of this. Does anybody want anything? And like have people just come get it from you. So you don't have to like make the trek to go like, because otherwise they're having to like dispose of it and or sell it. That takes time or donate it. Like they've got to load it up. Exactly what you said. It's like a big item.
Yeah, exactly. You're taking something off their plate. Your opportunity cost is paying for the grill.
Yeah, like they wouldn't offer it for free if they didn't want to offer it for free. They would be selling it if they felt like they needed something for it.
Bake them a loaf of bread.
Break them a loaf of bread. This is nice. Like you're a really good person, but like honestly, I probably wouldn't even thought twice about this, which maybe says a lot about who I am. I don't know. Like I would have just gone and gotten the grill and been like, thanks.
If you ever just need to get your industrial grade margarita mixer off your hands.
Will bought this thing. I'm like, we're never going to use it.
I thought it was a joint venture with Micah.
It is a joint venture, but like currently it's in Dripping Springs with Micah. So like, when are we ever going to use it? I guess now that we have a house, I'm going to like have margarita parties, and I'm going to make Will's ass go out to Dripping Springs to go get it
and snag it. Yeah.
Actually, speaking of grills, now that we have a house and like we're not on like in an apartment with like just a balcony, we are looking for a grill situation. So,
oh boy,
that's gonna like open up a whole can of worms.
No
like
opinionated
dudes, my
people
DMs,
in the
like,
DMs and
screaming at me about Traeger versus green egg, and I truly don't give a shit. So like, just telling you it's like easy to use,
I think the Traegers are the easiest to use, but the green eggs are kind of like the.
But like, I'm not gonna be a pit master, okay? I'm just like trying to grill some like wood plank salmon or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to put a steak on there, or like maybe smoke some meat. Like, I'll let Will handle that. But like, I'm not. Let's be serious, okay?
Yeah, like, we're. It's the basics. It's let's put a steak on there. Let's put some salmon on there. Let's do some burgers.
Like, I would get a freaking Weber. Like. I don't give a shit. Like, but
you got to have the names though. Isn't that amazing that like grills have become like a luxury market item?
Yeah,
it's incredible.
We got my dad a Traeger a couple of years ago for Christmas. I think he's used it like twice.
Well, you got to have it though. That's the thing. If you have a house in Texas,
you got to have
with a big backyard. You got to have a Traeger or green egg or like insert. What's the? Oh, there's another one that's like the cool, like, oh, if you thought green egg was cool, wait till you see this, yada, yada.
Like, I would use a George Foreman grill in my own house.
I had one in college.
Yeah.
I had the little, like, panini maker.
The panini press, yeah.
That I would bring to, like, tailgates.
Same. I would make turkey burgers in that.
Ooh. I made quesadillas. That was, like, my after.
Have you ever made a Reuben on that?
I can't say that I have. Pretty good.
Homemade Reuben slaps.
Really?
Yeah. I'm so hungry right now. I'm like a little hungover. And
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did a little get after it on a Wednesday?
Well, we celebrated Will's birthday last night, and I had
what'd you guys do?
maybe too much wine. So, yeah.
Go off.
We went to Jeffrey's.
Very
Little
nice.
Jeff's, but they kept bringing me wine, even though I didn't need it.
Last time I was at Jeffrey's, I threw up in their bathroom.
Really?
Yep. I got tanked. I don't know what happened. I think I was drinking on an empty stomach and already didn't feel great. And then I think I had a burger and then like a straight bourbon. And it was just, that was my tipping point. It was with my uncle. It was like, I wasn't even with friends. I wasn't trying to get
You just
tanked.
blacked out.
Just
and
had
threw
a
up in the
weird,
bathroom at
just had like a weird.
One of the nicest restaurants in Austin.
Correct.
Wow,
Yep.
tight.
Yeah,
Way to
really
go.
haven't been there since. No, not sure I'm allowed there, actually.
You probably are.
I don't think they identified me as the guy who threw
Probably
up in the
not.
bathroom. But yeah,
As long as you
what a night.
All right, you
let's do
ready
that.
for the next one?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Brett and Sally. I'm hoping Sally, as a working mom, and Brett, as a certified grind boy, can offer some guidance on remotivating myself at work. I'm a newish mom, and I'm really struggling balancing my new priorities. I'm a high school teacher and also a coach. I'm really struggling getting motivated for my team. To provide some context, my team is very good and highly competitive. If I can get my shit together and show up for them, we have every opportunity to win out at the local regional level. We have a solid chance of moving on and having a great showing at states. The problem is, I don't know how to do that. I'm past the newborn exhaustion, past the postpartum anxiety, and I haven't struggled with postpartum depression that I'm aware of. So I don't think those are causes of this feeling. I just spend practice wishing I wasn't still at school and I'm not being the coach my girls need. The baby is either in daycare and I miss him, or he's home with his dad and I wish I was there. I moved practice to begin almost immediately after school, but I still get home an hour or maybe 90 minutes before bedtime, 2 to 5 days a week, depending on where we are in the season. I didn't think balancing work and a new family would be easy per se, but I was expecting a fulfilling challenge. I wasn't expecting apathy towards the job and kids I genuinely love. Before having the baby, I never imagined considering making a change. I can't explain how much I love my girls and our sport. It's been the constant my whole life. And not to mention, great teachers are leaving the field in droves, and I don't want to be another one of them. But I don't know how to do this, and I only imagine it getting harder as the baby gets older. Here's the flip side. I have all school breaks off with the kids. I'd always be on their schedule. I'm 1/3 of the way to early retirement. I have a pension. The teaching portion of my job is very manageable, and my workload is stupid easy from February to May. Not working isn't an option, and I know the grass isn't greener in another career, but I can't shake this feeling. Just a really eloquent question. I think she did a great job of walking us through that.
Yeah. Okay. My first question is not coaching an option?
That's my gut here is, can we take a year off to sort of like miss the sport again or miss coaching again? I like coaches do that all the time.
Yeah.
One of our friends, intern Klein, his dad took a year off, missed it so much that despite some other stuff, health-wise was like, I gotta hop back in. And I think it's one of those things where it happens with really anything you do. It's if you love something and it gets kind of to the burnout stage and you put it on the back burner for a little bit and then you miss it, you come back almost a new person or a remotivated person. So that would be my initial thing is keep teaching, keep doing your thing and take a year off. And you can still see the girls, you can still cheer them on, you can still attend a game. But the problem, obviously, is like if you're the varsity girls basketball coach and you go to your athletic director and say, hey, I'm going to take a year off, mind saving the job for whenever I'm ready to come back. And it's like, well, no,
Right.
so
That's the issue.
that's the issue.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the sport, although I'm kind of picturing basketball or
Me too,
volleyball.
yeah.
Here's the thing about being a mom, a working mom. And I just went back to work 2 days ago. So
Welcome back.
I am right in the thick of what she's talking about. It gets easier though, because the problem is that it's so normal to have your priorities completely change when you become a mom or a parent in general. Like, I think Will feels very similar to how I do. It's like you miss them. Maternity leave was awesome. I was off for 3 months, but I like kind of needed to get back into a routine. And then I was back at work for 2 days.
Mhm.
And of course, I was like missing being around my children, but I also was like missing being around adults who don't like poop in diapers. You know what I'm
Sure,
saying?
yeah.
Um, Charlie is really young right now, and it's hard to, and I'm not even at the point yet. Like next week, I will go back and be working until 5 or 6 every night. So, uh, I am going to miss a significant portion of my, their
Mhm.
daytime with them.
Sure.
Um, that's two things. It's like one, it makes you really cherish the weekend, and like I have Wednesday off, so that time with your kids because you don't get it during the week, which I think is important. And not take it for granted by like being on your phone or letting them watch TV or whatever it is,
Mhm.
even though that's also necessary for your mental health sometimes. Uh, but also it, as they get older, it gets a little easier
She said
because
it's gonna get harder. I feel like it's gonna get
it's
easier.
gonna get easier. The reason it gets harder is because you have another baby. But when
Fair, yeah.
it feels hard when they're babies and they're doing all these new activities, they're doing all these new skills, and you're missing it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But again, that was like an interesting thing with Fritz. It was like, do we tell Sally because she's been at work, like that he walked today or that
Mhm.
he said his first word or whatever? And honestly, like my nanny was like, I'm just gonna let you experience it by yourself for the first time. Like,
Interesting,
and
okay.
then when you see it and you say it, I'm gonna be like, yeah, he did that 2 weeks ago. And I kind of liked that. Like that works for me because I like wanted to be there when he did stuff.
Sure.
And I knew he was getting close to certain things, like crawling or walking or whatever it was.
Mhm.
So I knew it was probably happening not around me. Uh so that's one way to approach it. But yes, you're missing like milestones, but at the same time, like you are still their mother. Like you still get sweet moments with them on the weekends or at night or whenever it is. And what she's saying is like, yeah, you're gonna get spring break off with him and you're gonna get summer off with him, which is like a huge like what a great time to like be able to bond with your kid. Like I would
Absolutely, a
love to
ton
have
of
the summer
time,
off
yeah.
to like chill with Fritz.
Mhm.
So I do actually think it gets easier in that sense as they grow up because they get older and it like everything feels less of a milestone. You know what I'm saying? Because when
Sure.
when you have your first baby and they're a baby, like anything they do feels like the earth shattering. You're like they smiled and then like they sat up for the first time and then they like babbled every tiny little thing that like the second kid. I'm like, oh, good job. But I also
Yeah, it's nice.
like, it's
Attaboy,
like a
Charlie.
weird guilt thing because 'cause I'm like, what if this is my last kid and I'm, like, not paying him enough attention, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
of, like, really, like, shitting myself over his accomplishments.
Mhm.
Being a being a working parent is very hard. I think being a mom who's working is extremely difficult and, like, not to count out all the dads out there, all the daddies, the poppies, because women have a very specific place in society and we have become the like go like de facto
Fucking awesome
nurturers.
bringers of life
Yeah.
and badass
But like
everything.
because of how society works, for the most part mothers are taking on the brunt of child rearing and nurturing and home care.
And men,
uh
we're gonna take our briefcase and
yeah.
commute to work and have the big
It's
office.
it's really, and as a because women tend to be more emotional and, uh, you know, like, more feeling than men, at least it's, like, more accepted that we are that way. It is, like, kind of a perfect storm of, like,
Mhm.
setting yourself up for failure when you go back to work. Uh
And along on top of work, which she's already a teacher, and it's already extremely difficult, especially like literally this day and age
right.
after everything that's happened. To be a coach on top of that, I can't imagine just the daily like you have to be you're there for your husband, your child,
And then
your
your
team,
other
and your classroom.
right.
Like you are a leader 24/7, or like the person that people look up to 24/7. And I cannot imagine how exhausting that is
Yeah.
in 4 different roles.
Yeah.
And so I get it. I get the burnout. I get the feeling of like, "Oh my god, if I could just take one of these off my plate,
Right.
how might I feel, or how might I how may I provide for the other parts of my life if I was able to turn one of these down." And I get that. I totally get that.
I also want to say, um, I I think that kind of pushing through, at least for the end of the year. I mean, like assuming that she's basketball or volleyball, like that volleyball's not in season anymore. Basketball is probably
Mhm.
going to be done soon.
Sure.
Then you're just like having practice, etc. Like it might get easier when it's not in the fall.
I was gonna say,
Um,
maybe if do we it's like you don't wanna pigeonhole yourself into a sport, but do you try a fall sport or a spring sport to be a coach instead of the winter where it kinda bleeds into
yeah, but
every semester?
I also was gonna say, especially if you like care, it's normal for your priorities to shift when you become a mom.
Sure.
But also, I think it's normal for them to kind of shift back. It's just like right now that your son is at the forefront of your mind, but like that does get easier.
Mhm.
Other thing I was going to say is like for all the working parents out there, especially the working moms, you are instilling in your children something that is really like hard for them to understand at a young age, but later on in life will give them a very good solid foundation of like work is important, setting goals is important, being, ambitious is important.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that stay-at-home moms can't do that as well,
Mhm.
like, but your children follow your lead, and like what a great example to show your son of like I provided for you because I worked and I also like went the extra mile by coaching this team and like being a mentor for
Mhm.
just think about all the lessons that you can like teach your child by
Yeah.
doing these things. Like that, I would love I personally, like, am happy that I have work. I would love to be, like, part-time if I could, and I
Yeah.
can't, but when I get down about, like, the amount I'm working, I'm like, "I'm doing this to, like, give my boys the life that I wanna give them. I'm
Sure.
doing this so that they see that, like, their mom is hardworking. I'm doing this so that, like, we can take vacation and I can spend time with them, that way." On the
Mhm.
flip side, like, if you're a stay-at-home parent, like, know that your job is also incredibly important, and, like, well, I think on the flip side, like, when Will is at home with the boys in the morning when I'm at work, like, I think that's a great time for them to see, like, "Oh, look at how much my dad, like, cares about me, like,
Mhm. Totally.
he's doing XYZ," and, like, they're way too young to understand that, but I think, number 1, like, actual real advice I can tell you besides just talking my face off about this right now, but, like, maybe go to some other teachers or
Mhm.
coaches who are working moms and say like, "How'd you do it? I'm kind of feeling really burnt out right now." Like other moms get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they understand. Um, so finding someone that can kind of be a mentor for you, that really helped with me at work was like one of my best friends has kids a couple of years older than mine and like she's been really helpful in like me transitioning back to work and like when I'm upset or the kids are sick or whatever it may be, being like, here's how I handled that and having some other like support in that
Sure.
sense.
Can you talk to are there people that specialize in postpartum stuff? Whether it's anxiety or depression, because she says she thinks she's good, but kinda reading it, it's like there might be a little, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm
So,
missing my child more," or like a separation anxiety even, that's
yeah.
kind of causing her at work and on the court or whatever sport
Yeah.
to be a little, like she said, apathetic.
Yeah.
And are there people that kinda talk about that stuff and specialize in that kinda stuff? And I
Right.
think that could be an option as well.
Yeah. And then my other time, like, advice was like, is there like an assistant coach who can kind of take over some of the like duties that, I mean, obviously you have to be present at practice and things
Mhm.
like that. But if there's like, if it's like your running day and stuff like that, do you have an assistant coach who can just do that
Mm,
so you can like go home and spend time with your kid?
yeah, so
Like, I
and then
get
you can
it.
also be the good guy while your assistant coach is the
Yeah, like
bad guy.
I understand we're not talking about pro sports here, but
Yeah.
like Is it, and I'm actually asking this question because I am not a coach. Like, is it absolutely vital that you're present at all of these things? And it probably is. But if there are any tasks that like are
Mhm.
taking you away from your kid that you can pawn off on someone else, like do it.
The assistant coach, like, the assistant coach can run a practice, can run conditioning, can run workouts. Like, you gotta be there for the games, and I think that makes sense, but if
Yeah.
your assistant coach can do a lot, you're also empowering them if they're, say, an up-and-coming coach or
Right.
teacher or young and don't have the responsibilities that you do
Yeah.
and can put more on their plate, and that's an option. So, I think there's a lot of different ways to sort of explore this. I would, in my opinion, not that I'm a working mom or, remotely qualified to say this, but I do think you stick out this year and just get to summer, sort of recharge, and then make a decision before next season, I guess,
Yeah.
whether you wanna sit out a year or ask if that's even a possibility. But stick it out this season for your girls and
And talk to your partner about it. Talk to
yeah,
other moms about it. Talk to, like, at some point, even, you don't want your like student athletes to worry about you, but like saying, like, hey, sorry if I like seem not, my mind's at home right now. I'm really trying to be here for y'all too.
right.
Like, don't internalize it.
Mhm.
Like, let
Talk.
other people help you, or let
Absolutely.
other people at least listen to you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Next one, Sal.
Yes. Hey, team. While this question might sound light and fun, it nearly led to my husband leaving me and an all out family brawl over breakfast. Parentheses joking. I don't know if you're joking or not.
Sounds like we're not joking.
Okay. If you were the only other person flying on an airplane and suddenly the captain had an emergency that rendered them unable to operate, would you be able to land the plane? Conditions. You would have full support from air traffic control, but don't have all day to talk to them and learn. They would need to talk you through it in real time in order to land safely. You do not need to land correctly. You just need to stay alive. This is hilarious. I'm sorry. I think this is so funny that they like had a full blown argument about it. I'm gonna say I think that the person who wrote in probably said no, and the husband absolutely confidently said
That
absolutely I
is
can.
100,000% what happened because this would be me. Because this whole I know, and, like, the aviation Brett heads out there are gonna be like, "Brett thinks he can fucking fly anything and yada yada," and I might have said I could land a, fighter jet on an aircraft carrier at some point confidently. Now, a commercial airliner, I will say that could I get on the ground safely? I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I have enough confidence in my ability to interpret direction and enough experience with not the game Flight Simulator, but flight simulators, period,
Hmm.
that I've been in, that I think I could get on the ground safely in a commercial airliner. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Randy has a look on his because he knows the people that are gonna be like, "You absolutely could not, you fucking loser, you." Uh-oh.
Are we on?
Oh, producer Mike. There it is.
Um,
There it is. There it is.
you can't even produce on the
No,
roadcaster over
was
there. You think you can land
yeah.
a plane? Are you kidding me? Yeah, this is like a common joke on the internet that like 90% of men think that they can do it. I am part of the 10% that knows no. There's no way that I could do it. Like, would I trust anyone else on the plane? Probably not. But I am not confident that I would be able to do it.
Well, so here's the thing. It sounds like you are the only option. Okay. So I think taking out the like I'm the savior of the whole commercial airplane.
Mhm.
It says you're the only other person
Yeah,
flying.
take out the pressure of having like 300
So
people on board. So like that
the
doesn't
whole pressure is
exist.
just
Yeah.
you surviving.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the captain who is like passed out.
Yes.
There's some type of neurotoxin that you are immune to, and you're the only one that's awake right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I think it's doable? Yes. Am I confident I could do it? No. Here's the anesthesia gets compared to flying a plane very often.
Wait.
Um,
Anesthesia. Oh, okay. The profession of anesthesia.
The profession of
I was like,
anesthesia,
the
the act of
drug?
giving someone anesthesia
Got it. Okay.
is compared to flying a plane,
Okay.
because the most dangerous parts of the flight
Or
are
takeoff
takeoff
and
and
landing.
landing.
Yes.
You're never just going to fall out of the sky.
I say what the first time I ever heard that, it's ruined flying, takeoff, and landing for every time, because that's the only time I'm nervous on a flight.
Right.
Oh, well, because everybody knows the rules. It's the 90 seconds before or 90 seconds after takeoff and 90 seconds before landing that are like whatever the stat is. It's like 90-something% of aircraft malfunctions
Right.
are in that time period.
When I put someone under, induction and an emergence. Induction means I'm putting you to sleep. Emergency means I'm waking you up. That's the equivalent of like taking off and landing.
That's right.
That's the most dangerous part of any anesthetic.
Ooh, I got the chills.
Because the rest of it, if something goes wrong, is the surgeon's fault. Probably.
Smirk.
Even though they're gonna blame anesthesia.
Got it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. Could I talk you through if I was doing anesthesia, could my partners who would not be in the room talk you through waking someone up?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, technically, yes. Does that mean you should do it? No.
Sure.
But if it's a life or death situation, could you do it? Sure. I think it totally depends on the person, though. I think you have to have a very good level of awareness and being calm under pressure. And if you don't have that type of daily, being calm under pressure is not like a personality trait. It's a skill. It's something that you hone, because being able to function in really high stress situations when somebody else's life is on the line. And I'm not like saying that I can do this because I'm an anesthetist, but like that is something that I do all the time. Like I have to perform when people's lives are on the line.
Yeah.
And I'm not like trying to like dramatize or like pat myself on the back. But if you are in medicine or like an ICU nurse or something like that, you are used to that. There are other professions, say maybe being a business development person at a podcast company.
You could say all of our lives are in his hand. You could say that.
How many times are you absolutely like feeling like you have like work pressures, but I'm talking life or death pressure.
I'm saying like pressure of like lives off this. It's like, which I don't know if you can separate, but if you are like, can you land a plane in a vacuum? Like your worst case scenario. And this is why we have to do this on a simulator at some point. So everybody can like, it's either, okay, you're like, hey, Brett, you get your shot, shut people up, or like, because you can't go up in an airplane unless you want to like land soft deck and do it like 10,000 feet and land like how you kind of practice.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do this in a simulator, which I want to do at some point, if anybody's in the commercial aviation training industry out there, I want to do this. And land a commercial airliner on a run.
I think there are people who could do it with no airline training at all.
Yeah.
Do I think most people can do it? Absolutely not.
No, it's sort of like, do you understand physics? Do you understand instruction? And can you interpret?
To me, it's like you really, it's not even that. The main argument for me is like, you really don't have to know. You can teach anybody to do any job.
Sure.
If they are focused enough and able to follow direction.
Yeah.
In an emergency situation.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will they do it well? No. Will they do it correctly? Probably not. And will it work? No. But I think the argument here is like what Randy's saying is like probably 90% of people are like, yeah, I could do that. It comes down to like, it has nothing to do with knowing how to fly a plane. I mean, it does, but like, we're just assuming everyone who's asked this question does not know how to fly a plane or anything about aviation. The confidence that I have in people is like, could you sit there and like, you have 5 minutes to save your life? Can you calmly and efficiently follow direction?
Which I think is almost like almost a different question. Because like if you're putting my life on the line and saying like, okay, you land or you die.
Right.
I'm part of the, I can't, I wouldn't be able to. But if it's like you land and if it goes wrong, you just respawn back like 20 miles away from the airport and you do it again. then right. It's pressure. Pressure changes this totally.
Right. But this is what I think is funny about that. Randy said probably 90% of men would say yes. It's probably women who are more likely to be able to do it. Like, no offense.
Girl power.
I'm just saying, as terms of genders go, women tend to be more detail oriented.
Okay.
We tend to be calmer. We tend to be more in tune with our own emotions. And so therefore we also tend to be able to control our emotions a little bit better. I'm not saying this is totally generalized. I'm not saying this is that you as a man cannot. I'm just saying what's also funny is that women also tend to underestimate themselves. And so most women probably answer, no, I wouldn't be able to do that, but they probably could. And men are the opposite. They probably say that they can and they probably can't.
But do women have a very calming pilot voice that
we're going to be flying at 35,000 feet today and breezy skies, all-time visibility, and folks, we're going to be pretty smooth ride up there. If you have any questions, please direct your questions to the more than capable flight crew that is headed up by Sally deFries today. Thank you very much. Enjoy the flight, and see y'all in wherever we're going.
As you can see in the overhead, we turned on the fastest seatbelts. We're about to hit some turbulence. It's going to be a little bumpy here, but only lasts a couple minutes. So please,
folks, it's 84 degrees in Orlando, Florida, where we'll be headed, and we'll be sit back. We'll be there in about 2 hours and 42 minutes. Wind is out of the south right now. Should be a clean ride all the way there, and sit back, relax, enjoy the flight.
The flight crew will resume beverage service.
I will say though, being someone that's had, but like going into kind of just being in graphic design, all this stuff, like me trying to explain something to one of our interns that has some type of knowledge, being like as an air traffic controller is so much easier because they know at least some of the jargon stuff. But if I like had to explain something to Dylan, someone that has no clue about all this stuff, it's so much harder. So that's like like you don't know what knobs and what dials anything is.
Well, that's the other problem.
There's
you have to be it's also completely dependent on who's directing you.
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely.
And I have a friend who's an air traffic controller. I mean, like, their jobs are so difficult, but like if they don't have patience with you, you're also screwed. Because they have to be able to give it to you in layman's terms and also be patient enough to like talk you through a very stressful situation.
Yeah.
I personally do not feel like I could do it. Part of me wants to say, yeah, I could. But like I know deep down I couldn't. You know?
I need to find a way to do this in a sim, which obviously takes the pressure out of it. And
right.
I know that.
But I also think it's hilarious that this like became so incredibly like polarizing that like this person almost divorced her
She
husband.
was insulting his manhood is what it really was.
I don't know. I think it's just like, I think men where it comes to like you play, you know, all the games you played growing up, all like the physics stuff. I love the science. It's like, that's kind of like it's been sort of this masculine tradition. Like, oh, we can drive and fly and do things. Men. And women are like, yeah, like that's great. But you don't know how to do it. Like you've done it on a PS5, but you can't. That doesn't mean you can do it. And so but I think both sides have their points, and it's just one of those questions that's going to be forever in the.
I think this question is more telling of a person's personality. Like it says something about your confidence.
Ooh, Randy, this would be a good hinge prompt.
Because if you automatically say yes without considering any of those things, you have enough confidence to like take you through life to be like, I can do whatever I want.
There you go.
And
then if you say no, you know yourself better and you're well adjusted.
Oh,
correct.
There it goes. Okay.
Yeah, I honestly think that's true. I think that's what the question's about. It's like not even about the technical aspects or like,
are you delusional or are you self-aware?
Yeah. Wow.
Let's do one more, Sally.
Okay.
I'm going to skip 5. We'll go to 6. Keep it quick. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, Mail and Crew. This is more of a Sal Gal question. Sorry, Brett. Speaking of flights, this will be my 3-month-old on his first flight in January. I'm a very comfortable traveler, traveled 2 to 4 times a month before baby, but I'm extremely anxious about traveling with a baby. Would love some travel tips with a baby that are not obvious, i.e. what should I wear, what should baby wear, unexpected items to bring, etc. Would love tips on enjoying myself on this trip as it is a vacation.
Okay. Great time to travel with the baby is 3 months / anytime before they're 9 months because they're still potatoes. And
potato mode makes it easier, right? Yeah.
When they become aware enough to start crawling and walking, it becomes awful.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's really terrible for like another 1.5 years until they figure out the joys of an iPad. and like can
Until
sit
distraction
still.
is your
Correct.
best friend.
Like I think unfortunately we don't have any trips planned, but like we're at a perfect age right now with Charlie and Fritz because Fritz will sit in front of a TV for hours
and just like zone
out.
Yeah.
And Charlie doesn't do anything besides like eat and sleep and smile at me.
Right.
So number one, anytime you're flying with kids, it's twofold. I think most people who are considered human beings are going to be anxious about flying with a child because they don't want to ruin someone else's experience, which is very kind of you. I am a lot more empathetic towards parents now that I am a parent myself than I was before I was a parent. Air travel sucks in general. Do I think you should feel bad for bringing your kid and the fact that they're crying because their ears are popping? No. Do I think that you should let your kid throw goldfish at people while they're, like walking down the aisle? Absolutely not.
Okay. So there's a line.
Yes, you just need to be considerate.
There has to be a line. There has to be a line because.
And kids are hard to control. I mean, like, especially toddlers, because they want to like play and move around. And you are really just trying to like get from one place to the other. Like, it's no child. I feel the same way about restaurants. Like, no kid developmentally who's a toddler like can sit still in a restaurant without an iPad in front of them. Like when people shit on people who let their kids have screen time at restaurants, I want to be like, first of all, you don't know what their struggle is. But second of all, developmentally, children are not able to sit there and do nothing. And to expect that of a child means you have either don't know anything about kids or you have bad expectations.
Yep.
So first of all, give yourself some grace. A 3-month-old's going to travel great. And I'm speaking to people who are going to travel with toddlers, like that's okay too. Just try to make sure that like your kid's assholishness is dimmed to the most amount you can. Being gracious to the flight attendants and people around you goes a long way too. Acting entitled about shit and like asking for extra stuff and not being thankful or like thanking people for their help makes you come off like a dick in general, but especially when you have kids. Like if your kid throws something or spills something, like do your best to clean it up. Don't let other people clean it. Like that is just normal person behavior anytime now on the flight.
I think what happened to me recently sort of crystallized my opinion on this.
Okay.
On a flight, a row over and up is mom on the aisle seat, dad is on the opposite aisle seat, and toddler is in the seat next to mom. They have to themselves, row to themselves. Toddler is a menace. I mean, just like night flight, has a flashlight in her hand, standing up on the seat, waving it around the plane.
Yeah.
And toddler's doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And is kind of banking on like the group empathy for like, oh, it's a baby on a flight.
Yeah.
We're fine. I think where my line is drawn is obviously like it's bugging other people, it's throwing goldfish, it's not crying. Like I get those things. But if mom and dad are not doing anything to try to comfort or try to like
control
settle
the
down
behavior,
and control, just even if it's like pulling them down every 3 minutes because they're going to go back up again, but just some sort of
look like you're trying.
Look like you're trying.
Same
thing. Then I'm all in. I'm like, hey, I know this is hard. You got a toddler, you got this and that going on. But if you're there reading on your iPhone, and kid is going nuts, I'm like, what are we doing?
I used to feel the same way.
I'm like, my generation is, what are we doing?
When we would take Rosie to the dog park and like dogs were being assholes and like their owner was just like staring at Instagram and like, pay attention to your shit. Like that's just being a considerate human being. So like, I totally agree. Your kid can be an asshole. I mean, they shouldn't be, but like you are given a pass or people will be empathize with you more if you are acting like you are attempting to decrease the level of like disruption they're causing.
Yes.
So unfortunately for you as a parent, traveling with kids means that you are on like full blown duty of just like minimizing their disruption to other people.
Right.
That's your job.
I think that should be like tacitly understood.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, I'm on vacation. Like everybody, like, oh, I have a kid. Well, like everybody knows having a kid's hard, so I'm just gonna go off in my own world.
Understand that people get it. But I really internalized when we flew with Fritz when he was 3 months, I was freaking out. He was crying. I was like, because when we were taking off and landing, and I was freaking out, and I was like, people are judging me, blah, blah. Like, really the crying thing is like, it is what it is.
It is what it is. And you hold them, and you can like, I like when people like walk up and down the aisle with their kid, because I'm like, you're trying, you're doing something there. I appreciate that.
Practical tips for a 3-month-old: if they're still breastfeeding or if they're bottle feeding, whatever it is, give them a bottle during takeoff and during landing, because that helps them suck and it helps pop their ears.
Okay.
Yeah. So really up until a year old, even when Fritz was older than that, we would like offer him like water or something to drink. So doing that at takeoff and landing really helps. I tended to notice, and this might just be Fritz specific, takeoff, like, the problem was you're sitting on the tarmac and you're like, they seem fussy, I'm going to breastfeed them now. But then you miss the window and you feed them too early, and then you take off and then their ears pop. So try to wait until you're like taxiing, literally about to take off, because the time when their ears are popping is when you're ascending.
Gotcha.
But then the flip side, for some reason, Fritz's ears would always pop before mine would. So like he would be really, really fussy, and then 5 minutes later my ears would pop, and I'd be like, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
So if they start getting fussy while they have like just announced the descent, that's probably what's happening. And that's a great time to like give a bottle or breastfeed or whatever you need to do. We were not big baby wearing people. Baby wearing, Brett, is like when they have the little kangaroo pouch on your chest. You know?
Yeah. And now there's like bougie ones that don't have straps. It's like oh, this is like a knitted, or like it looks like an ace bandage.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay. I did not baby wear with Fritz, and I wish I would have. That's a great way to do it because you have free hands. So you get to the baby to the airport, you go through security, strap them on your chest, and then you're able to like go get coffee, carry your luggage, etc., because you have extra hands.
Yep.
If you do not own a Doona, you should have a Doona. Everyone should have one. They're the best thing ever. It is a car seat, stroller, convertible situation. We traveled with it all the time. I would keep Fritz in it, and then when we would get to the gate, I would gate check it. Pro tip: if you are flying, especially on Southwest, which doesn't have assigned seats, but if there are extra seats, you are allowed to bring your baby. You're allowed to bring your car seat on the plane.
Interesting. Okay.
They like legally can have to let you if there's extra seats, and they just have to be in the window. I did that when they were younger. It's a pretty big seat constraint, at least for a Doona. Some of the car seats are smaller, but ask. It's a little harder when you have assigned seating, because you might, at the time, if there's like a middle seat next to you, great, ask if it's not booked. But otherwise, they have to finagle you around. It's a lot easier on like Southwest just because there's not assigned seating. But always ask. Baby items, pack way more than you think you need to. If people judge you and you show up and your mother-in-law says, I can't believe you brought all this shit.
I was just gonna say,
F you, I don't care.
It looks like a nightmare from an onlooker's perspective to see the 37 different bags.
Well, okay,
and
here's what I'm going to say. If you're traveling somewhere, ship as much stuff as you can beforehand so that you don't have to travel with it. So like, especially if you're going like to parents' house or something, or even like a hotel, send diapers beforehand. Send, like if they do formula, like send stuff. There's also a really great company called Baby Quip, which is a place where you can rent stuff. So instead of having to bring like a pack and play or a car seat or whatever, if you don't want to have to deal with that, you can usually rent it when you get to a destination, depending on like, if you're like going to a big city. If you're going to a small town, it's not going to work.
We should start a company that's like that, just called Stork, and it brings baby stuff to destination places.
I think like that's... Yeah, probably already exists, but sure.
What, Randy? It's a great idea.
Circling Back had that same idea, but it was shipping your kids instead. It was like sticks, but it was spelled with a Q, and it was all lowercase. It was Stork.
So it's send, or like the thing is, unless you're like straight up going to like a really remote location, most places have like a Target. Like, don't feel like you need to pack every single item that like they need. Like, you can always go get stuff.
I think
or Amazon exists.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go.
But the things that you practically really need for a 3-month-old or a baby is like milk that you're going to give them, whether they're on formula, breast milk, etc. I would bring a cooler and I would breastfeed, but I also had extra breast milk just in case.
You have to be careful at TSA with that, though, right?
are supposed to allow you to bring breast milk. Also, there are a lot of rules if you are a breastfeeding mom or you are bringing on formula. Look up online what you're allowed to bring. You are allowed to bring a pump bag that is totally separate from your luggage. So when we went to Blackberry and I was pumping, I had my carry-on, my personal item, and a cooler.
Okay.
And they're not allowed to tell you shit because you are providing milk to a human.
Providing a human life.
But if they have a question, you can be like, here's what the TSA policy is.
Okay.
Also, if things are frozen, so I would freeze like yogurt and stuff like that. Obviously, 3-month-old is too young. Gets through TSA a lot easier. When you have like liquid milk, they still check it, but they don't they can't test it. They just like put it through this thing. Some people get weird about that. I don't really care as long as they were like sanitary about it.
You're x-raying my baby's milk?
Yeah.
He's going to be radioactive.
Yeah.
Health and wellness.
Always pack. This was like a tip from my friend. Of course, you're packing extra outfits for the babies. I liked the zippy onesies so that you could that come from the top and the bottom so you could change their diaper easily if you needed to. But pack yourself an extra outfit because if they throw up on you or you get milk everywhere or whatever, have an extra shirt and pants or dress or whatever it may be in the diaper bag. But a 3-month-old is you're going to be able to enjoy it. Yeah. When your kids get older, you're not taking vacations. You're just relocating to a different place for a week. Yes. That's what some of my friends have said.
I like that,
when you have toddlers, you're not on vacation.
No, you are
relocating your life to somewhere else for the memories of your children, but you are working just as hard. Yeah. So good luck. Everything's going to be fine. Plan it out, have the things you need, but you don't freak out if if your baby's crying. I guarantee you, the plain white noise is loud enough to probably even cover that up at 3 months.
Yeah, enjoy yourself because when they're toddlers, you're going to be back just working.
Fritz is grounded, literally grounded the plane. He's not allowed to travel for another 6 months because he is not good.
Not good. Well, have fun. Enjoy yourself. Sally, that was a great episode. Randy, great episode. Please subscribe, rate 5 stars, review, and tell a friend about the show. Hit the hotline, 888-362-MAIL. That's 888-362-6245. Or again, you can write in at the link in the Twitter bio at MailInPodcast. Sally, where can the folks find you?
They can find me on Sally deFries on Instagram and Twitter.
I am Brett Merriman at Merriman on those platforms, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.